G'day there ladies and gents, it's Connie here again, and we're back reading some more stories from Reddit, again. So as usual, if you enjoy these, be sure to hit like and subscribe and all that stuff, and let's get stuck straight in. Alrighty folks, kicking things off on relationship advice. This one was written by user Carolina Blythe 31, and it's titled, I think I did something wrong to another girl because I felt like she was threatening my relationship. My boyfriend and I have been together for almost a year, but this issue happened a little before we were dating, but it has been bothering me a little. Before I met him, he had this friend, let's call her Rachel. He and Rachel had known each other since they were 15. He told me that when he first met her, he had a crush on her, but then switched schools and didn't see her until freshman year in college. In high school, they weren't very close, because Rachel was kind of unreachable for him, but in college they began a really close friendship. Because we live far from campus and we take the bus to school, and they used to sit together all the time. From what I know is that in February last year he confessed his love to Rachel, and she admitted she liked him as well, but that she wasn't ready for a relationship and she was hung up with another guy. And in March he and I started talking. I always saw him from afar and had a crush on him, but he was always with Rachel. We began dating casually in May, and everything was going so well, until my boyfriend told me he had to sit with Rachel on the bus every day now because of something that happened to her. I don't have the full details on this, but from what I understand is that one day on the bus, a guy sexually abused Rachel and she didn't have any other friends on the bus, so she went out to seek help from him. As the angel he is, obviously he accepted, but I wasn't very comfortable with this agreement between them. If I'm being honest, I am a little jealous of Rachel. She's a very pretty and seems to be a very nice girl, but as our relationship was very new, I felt insecure about this. Fast forward, I told him that he wasn't allowed to sit next to her ever again, and that the next day in the morning he needed to choose me or Rachel. He picked me, and I saw Rachel shed a couple of tears, and I felt bad, honestly, but we needed boundaries. A couple of months ago, I catch him messaging Rachel, asking about her current life status with quarantine and if she was still going to therapy, and then a couple of old messages between them, him being grateful about a gift Rachel gave him and him being so helpful with her. I kind of feel awful about me just taking him away from her, but I felt we needed to set boundaries, and for me, Rachel is a potential danger to my relationship, given the special bond between my boyfriend and her. I've thought about apologizing to her about what happened and clearing things up with him. He's so great to me that I feel awful about taking his friend away from him. Clearly she doesn't feel that awful about taking him away from her. I mean, I'm not entirely ruling out the fact that they could have feelings for each other, but as it stands now, they sound like good friends, and it sounds like Rachel needs him for very valid reasons. If Opie thinks this is a threat to her relationship, then the issue is with the boyfriend, not with Rachel. Let's go to the comments. Ultimatums are cruel on everyone involved. This poor girl was abused and wanted a close friend to make her feel safe, and you stopped this out of jealousy? Boundaries are fine, but ultimatums are unfair. Why do you get to decide who he's friends with? To me, that's a red flag. Grow up and stop being jealous of your boyfriend's friends, and also please don't decide for him who he can be friends with. Your insecurities doesn't make your actions acceptable. You need to apologize to Rachel immediately, and you also really need to work on your insecurities. If you're feeling threatened in your relationship can't be anything special. You have mad insecurities, and you should start apologizing to both your boyfriend and Rachel. You could apologize, but don't be surprised if Rachel does not forgive you. She literally was sexually assaulted, and your boyfriend was her only ally in that situation, and your actions put her in danger of attack again. What if she was attacked again because of your insecurities? You can apologize, but she has no obligation to forgive either of you. Someone else adds, nor does Opie have any obligation to be responsible for Rachel potentially being attacked. Rachel can also ask Opie and Opie's boyfriend to sit with her, instead of only Opie's boyfriend. In that case, seeing as Opie would be sitting alone on this dangerous bus, what if Opie gets sexually attacked instead? Opie replies, I've never crossed words with Rachel, never. If I don't sit with my boyfriend, I sit with my brother. Rachel only had him and I took him away. Because of quarantine and online school, he hasn't seen her, but I'm afraid of what will happen when we come back to school. Yeah, some interesting points there. Okay, Opie makes another post on the advice subreddit, basically asking the same question, so we're going to skip that and go to an update 3 days later. A couple of days ago, I made a post about me feeling awful about prohibiting my boyfriend to be friends with a girl named Rachel. Many people suggested I needed to talk to him about it, or that Rachel was trying to steal him away from me because they are still very much in contact. So I talked to him, and he told me that at first, when we got together last year, he was still a little hung up on Rachel because he always thought that she was the one, and then he said that he does speak with her regularly on the phone because he misses her, but he says that she isn't the one reaching out to him, it's the other way around. So I'm just so mad at him, like he gets to be with me and also talk every day with the girl he thought was the one? That's bullcrap. I'm a mess right now, and I feel like I do have to break up with him, but at the same time I don't want to do it. But then I remember the cherry on top of the cake. The first one is that he never told Rachel that he was dating me. She thinks we're just friends. And the second one is that he admitted that a month before we started dating, he and Rachel constantly had sex in his car and basically everywhere. A frickin' month. I am so mad. I started packing in boxes all the stuff he gave me, all of it, and tomorrow I'm going to his house to end things. I hope I'm doing the right thing. Yeah, with that context, I feel like that's going to change everyone's mind, myself included. Looks like they both have feelings for each other after all. Honestly, who's surprised? One comment says, "You are. You definitely deserve to be the one for someone else. He can go back to Rachel." Opie says, "Thank you. I know that them having sex before he started dating me doesn't count as cheating, but it feels like it. It even makes me wonder if they were having sex the whole time we were together." Babe, you know it's over. You're looking for a few internet strangers to back you up. I'm happy to be in that gang. Let's talk about good things. It's a holiday season in most places. Do you have nieces or nephews you're making gifts for? Or holiday cookies? I'm not religious, but I love making those cookies where you do the fancy thing with a toothpick on the icing and it looks all professional. There's a world of stuff outside this dude, probably including a better dude. And she replies, "I'm happy to have you here. I actually have a little sister. She's 7 years old and very excited about the holidays, even if they are going to be a little bit different. We love baking cookies, and I think this year she's old enough to put some ice on them. I really like those fancy cookies too. I'm a little bit religious, but not too much. We do pray a lot this time of the year to be grateful to God about the things He gave us this year. And I know some better dude will come along. Hopefully the one, as he says." Yeah, another update, 2 days later. First of all, I want to thank everyone who gave me advice and encouragement in the past days. After thinking everything and having a long talk with my mum last night, I decided to break up with him for good. Sorry if this post is incredibly long, but I need to vent my thoughts. Today, I went over to his house. We went to one of the gardens of the residential where he lives. I started by saying that until a few days ago, I believed he was the best boyfriend in the world, that he always been caring and thoughtful, and that I really thought our relationship was special. But the feeling was not mutual. I told him that I can't ignore the fact that he lied to me about Rachel, and that he lied to Rachel about us. Then, when he finally got the nerve to speak, he said that he told Rachel about us. Well, too bad, because it's a year too late. I made it very clear to him that I'm not a consolation prize or second best to anyone, and that includes him. We are officially over. He apologized for lying to me. He understood and accepted my reasons for dumping him, and that he was really sorry for leaving me in the middle of all his problems with Rachel. He admitted that it wasn't fair to me, and he hopes one day I can forgive him, and that someday someone will be crazy about me and will love me as I deserve to be loved and respected. Before we were a couple, we were friends, and he just let out all his complicated stuff with Rachel. I left it in the comments, mainly for myself because I like to write. He realized he is completely nuts, and that he was truly a jerk to me. He promised he would work out things with her to stop hurting people along the way, including themselves. I also told him that if he told me about what happened to Rachel on the bus, I would have been more than happy to help her. He admitted he had no clue what to do. He took her to the psychologist, talked to her mum, and helped her file a formal complaint to the university authorities. I returned his gifts. I know I didn't have to do this, but I asked if it was okay for me to sell the expensive gifts he gave me, that include a couple of bracelets and rings, and donate the profit to a women's shelter that helps women victims of sexual abuse and domestic violence. He agreed to this idea that someone here kindly suggested. After a good cry and talking with my mum, I decided to text Rachel. She knew everything now. I kinda still felt awful about what happened on the bus that day. We spoke over the phone. She was great to me. When I was starting to apologize, she told me that I didn't need to do that. She completely understood from where I was coming from. She said that her therapist had already told her that it wasn't good for her to depend on him for safety. She now knows how to defend and stand up for herself. Rachel was so furious at him. She kind of figured it out that we were together, and she asked him several times, and he was never clear. She tried to take a step back, but he was still there. As I said, Rachel was great and so kind to me. She sent a pizza and ice cream over to my house because she asked what she could do for me. She told me something that got stuck in my head. Quote, "Sex makes everything more complicated." She told me that growing up in a Catholic environment made her think that she needed to stick forever to the guy that she gave her virginity to. I told her she needed to break free from that and figure out her stuff with him. We agreed that we wished we could have been friends because we have a lot in common, but that right now it feels too weird. Thanks again to everyone. I was hesitant to write this post, but even Rachel and my mum told me that it was a good idea to write it down. Rachel even gave me permission to write crap about her. I will not do that. I am free. I learned that I should never pursue someone who is clearly in love with another girl, that I have to work on myself a lot, to value my worth more, and to never settle for a bad love. I have lots of emotions, between happy and angry, but hopefully someday I will see my post and feel good about my decision. Have a happy holidays, everyone, and remember, emotional affairs are not cool. Alrighty guys, and that's the end of that story. Hey, at least the boyfriend was self-aware enough in the end to realize that he stuffed up. That's pretty rare in and of itself these days. But yeah, I think there's no doubt Opie will look back on this and realize she made the right decision. What do you guys think? Let me know down below. Otherwise, let's move on to the next story. Okie dokie, over on Am I the A-hole, this one was written by user Chicken Wing Priest, and it's titled, "Am I the a-hole for going off on my friend for getting mad at me because I won't hang out with his cheater girlfriend?" I was asked by a friend of mine to stop by his place and grab some stuff one day a few months ago since I had a spare key. Nobody was supposed to be there since his girlfriend works at that time, but when I got there, her car and a truck I didn't recognize were in the driveway. Immediately assumed the worst, and I was right. I took a few pictures of the truck and car in the driveway, then went in to confront her, and she was half naked on the couch with another guy. Snapped a few pics and left before she could get dressed and chase me down. Immediately called my friend and let him know what I saw. I met up and showed him the pictures. He was heartbroken but said he'd started to suspect things a few weeks prior, so he wasn't too surprised. He confronts her and she gives the usual cheater BS. "It was a mistake, only happened once. I love you, he meant nothing." However, she couldn't keep up the lie and was forced to admit she'd done it with another guy a few months previously, and that same guy I caught her with the night before when she was staying late at work but was actually at her side piece's house. He broke up with her and kicked her out of his place. Seemed to be doing better until a couple of weeks later he gets lonely and takes her back. Now they are together again and I've stopped hanging out when she's around, so I don't see him as much anymore. We had the following exchange when we met up for lunch, and I'm wondering if I was too harsh. This isn't word for word, but it's the best I can pull from memory. He says, "Why don't you come over anymore? We barely hang out." I say, "You know why. I'm not hanging out with or around your girl. She's a cheater, and I don't hang out with cheaters. Also, she freaking hates me because I'm the one that caught her stepping out on you, remember?" He says, "She doesn't hate you. I forgave her. It's fine. So just come over tonight. We can hang out. She wants you over there too." I said, "Not happening. I hope you're happy with her, but I think she's trash, and I'd rather sit in a room by myself than pretend she's not a total piece of crap, just so you can act like everything is okay." And he says, "Why the hell do you care? She didn't cheat on you." He was getting visibly worked up at this point, and I was probably looking about the same. And I said, "Look, if you want to sweep this crap under the rug and keep pretending things are fine while she figures out how to get some side dick again without getting caught, that's your choice. But I can never pretend that I didn't walk in on her half naked with another man. And I can't pretend that you aren't an idiot for taking her back when she obviously is going to cheat again and has no respect for you. Hell, I have less respect for you for taking her back." We sat in angry silence for a minute before I left, and since then it's been mostly quiet. I got a text asking if I really think she's a horrible person, and I replied, "Yes, she's a horrible person. I hate her and hope one day you're smart enough to leave her, but until then I'll be keeping my distance from you as well." And that's been about it. A few of our mutual friends hung out with them recently and they say it's super awkward. My friend tries to get them to interact with her, but they also don't like her. They're just too polite to say anything to his face about it. So, getting to the judgment I need. Have I been too harsh here? Was I an a-hole for snapping at him like that after everything that happened? Should I have just played nice and just made excuses not to hang out instead? And some additional information. For the record, I understand that I'm not an a-hole for wanting to distance myself from his girlfriend. I'm mostly worried about how harsh I was when we met up and got into our argument. That's where I think I might have crossed a line. Yeah, it's probably a bit harsher than what most people would say, but I'm kind of with OP. If I had a friend that was in a similar situation, I'd probably be just as harsh. Sometimes you need to be brutally honest, especially with your close friends. Means he cares about him. No point glossing over it. Let's go to the comments. A downvoted commenter says, "Seems to me he could have been less harsh and more supportive. He doesn't need a friend when things are good. He needs a friend when things aren't good and who are there to support him. Yeah, he's an idiot, but if he's a good friend, would he be there for you when you do something dumb? We sometimes have to do things we don't like to do, in support of something more important. So perhaps less harsh and more understanding of how lonely and hard it was for him." OP says, "I'd agree that I could have been less harsh, but he will get no support from me when it comes to choosing to stay with her. He has every right to take her back, but she's not someone I ever want to be around, and I'm more than happy to focus on my other friendships instead if that's how it's going to be." Your reaction is completely understandable. You walked in on his girlfriend cheating, showed him the evidence, and now she's back in the picture. Wanting to protect yourself from that kind of toxic energy isn't harsh, it's boundary setting. You're not responsible for normalizing or pretending everything's fine, and you don't owe anyone the emotional labor of being around someone you have zero respect for. And he replies, "I can't imagine being in a room with her for hours. He has to know it would be miserable for all of us, but he's hanging on to this fantasy that will go back to how things were before she got caught. But that's never going to happen." Okay, now for an update, nearly 4 weeks later. A month ago, I came here to get some perspective on a potential falling out with a friend of mine over him taking back his girlfriend after I caught her cheating on him, and she admitted to doing it multiple times. I stopped hanging out with him after we got into an argument over me not wanting to hang out with this cheated girlfriend. Things played out almost exactly how I figured they would, and I'm feeling pretty validated in my disdain for his now ex. After our fight, my friend and I barely spoke to each other outside of a few texts. Then I got a call from him yesterday, letting me know he kicked her out. He told me he'd only taken her back after several weeks of her begging and promising to do whatever it took to win his trust back. One of the conditions of him taking her back was full access to her phone, laptop, and game console without complaint. He said at first she was happy to comply, but after a few weeks, he noticed her acting suspicious, and when he went to check her phone, she'd changed the passcode from the one they'd agreed on for him to get in. When confronted, she started screaming at him and telling him she'd done enough to prove herself, so he needs to back off. He immediately dumped her and kicked her out. Said she immediately backtracked and tried to hand her phone over when she realized he was serious, but that the damage was done. Said he was almost relieved she acted like this because it made the decision easier. I came over and helped him move all her stuff into boxes for her to pick up. I wasn't there when she came to get everything, but his sister was there and had to get between them because his ex kept trying to kiss him one last time, while awkwardly dragging boxes of her stuff out to her car. I'm sad I didn't get to be there. Apparently she ugly cried most of the time. I'm going to head over to his place after work to drink and play video games to get his mind off things. He's an idiot, but I think he's finally learned his lesson about her. I just hope his next girl is loyal and doesn't talk so goddamn much during movies. One comment says, "You're a damn good friend. I hope he appreciates you." Opie says, "I'm splurging on the good pizza and beer tonight. He'd better appreciate it." Not the a-hole. It's too hard to look her in the face while she's destroying your friend. He came back and he knows you're a good friend. He replies, more importantly, he knows he's an idiot, but he's a lovable idiot. Not the a-hole. You shouldn't be forced to hang out with people you don't like or respect, and I'm glad he finally has the blinders off. You sound like a good friend who was watching his back, but sometimes people in love or lust are really dumb, and you just have to be there to pick up the pieces. But the fact that she talks during movies would have been a deal breaker. That's just wrong. Opie replies, if there weren't explosions and fight scenes on the screen, she'd immediately get bored and try and talk to people about random stuff. It was so bizarre. She'd even do it with movies she picked. Yeah, that's not on for me as well. What about you guys? Talking during movies or no? Let me know in the comments. Alright guys, that's it from me today. Hope you enjoyed those stories. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.